Welcome, brave souls, to Paranormal Stew, where the mysterious and the eerie come to life. Tonight, we dive into the shadows to uncover the secrets that lurk beyond the veil. Turn off the lights, keep your eyes peeled, and join us on a journey into the unknown. From the whispers in abandoned halls to the figures seen in the corner of your eye, we leave no stone unturned. What are these echoes from the past trying to tell us? Are we truly alone in the dark? We'll investigate the legends that have haunted humanity for generations, seeking the truth behind the terror. Prepare yourselves, for the line between our world and the next is thinner than you think. Sit back, if you dare, as we begin our first investigation.
So many Hollywood celebrities have trans kids. Naomi Watts, Jamie Lee Curtis, Charlize Theron, Magic Johnson, Robert De Niro, Annette Bening, Dwayne Wade, Megan Fox, Marlon Wayans, Cynthia Nixon, J-Lo, Jennifer Garner, Rosie O'Donnell, and I'm sure I'm missing a whole bunch. Some believe it's a sacrifice they have to make to move up in their satanic club. The celebrity will stay relevant as long as they push one of their causes. Now, whether that's true or not, that's not important. What's important is, why does it matter? It matters because celebrities have a huge influence. It matters because gender transitions have increased by 500% in the last decade because of propaganda. It matters because the majority of these transitions happen between 13 and 17 years old. It matters because the suicide rate amongst transgender people is almost 8 times higher versus the general population. It matters because Pfizer leads in hormone therapy drugs. It matters because it's making these demons richer while confusing and weakening our youth. So the next time we see a celebrity come out with their freshly transitioned kid, it's not the time to clap and talk about how courageous they are like all these trash Hollywood magazines. It's time to call out the psyop, unfollow the perpetrators, and ask for stricter legislation on this issue.
This is what we must not let them do. When we lose cash, if we lose cash, and you've only got central bank digital currencies, the computer will know what it is you're trying to do before you even do it, and they will prevent you from doing it. If, for example, they say you can't leave your house more than 5 miles, you try and buy a bottle of water 6 miles from home, you won't be able to. I'm not kidding. So many reasons why you should retain cash. It's offensive that the politicians believe that they have a right to all of your information at all times. With 5G, in an urban area, they know within a small number of meters where you are. They know if you're on the toilet or in the kitchen. If you go online, they know you're online. If you write anything, I can assure you they know what I write. They know my IP address. Even with a VPN, I can't comment on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I am censored and smeared. So I'm on Substack, Telegram, and places most people have never heard. It's so dangerously effective, the censorship. So, bottom line is, they will try and take money away and replace it with electronic funny money. Don't let them do it. Keep using cash. Every day you use cash, you're throwing a handful of sand in the eyes of the globe.
The statement of Joseph Sansone. It is based on the sworn statement of the late Professor Dr. Francis Boyle, who has determined and concluded. Professor Boyle is the greatest authority in the field of bioweapons legislation. He is the author of it. So he knows what is legally meant by it. He knew, like no other, that the COVID-19 mRNA injection is a bioweapon. He has also made that loud and clear to the world, known, after which, despite being in good health, he passed away shortly after he had declared himself willing to give testimony under oath about this in court. The core of Professor Boyle's argument is that the COVID-19 mRNA injections contain derivatives of illegal military gene function research. As a result, the COVID-19 injections qualify, by definition, as a military biological weapon system. A bioweapon, in other words. This bioweapon consists of 2 integrated components: the pathogenic load and the delivery mechanism. It is beyond doubt that the pathogenic load is the product of illegal gene or function research. Boyle refers to this, to an article in the scientific journal Nature Medicine, of which I have included the link in this plea note. If you open that link, you will immediately read the warning that true scientists believe that an animal is the most likely source of the coronavirus. You will also immediately know that what is called the new normal, true scientists, are not scientists, but faith fanatics. These are the scientists behind whom the respondents hide. The article in Nature Medicine that Boyle reports on was published in 2015, and the title reads, translated, "A cluster of circulating coronaviruses in bats, similar to SARS, shows potential for human infection." I present to you what the summary of this research included in the article reveals. It states, based on these findings, we have synthetically created an infectious, fully SHC014 recombinant virus developed and demonstrated robust viral replication, both in vitro and in vivo. So it states, we researchers have created a SARS-like coronavirus with a spike protein optimized for human infection. I cannot provide a better example of illegal gain-of-function research. And who wrote that article from 2015? Among others, researchers affiliated with UNC Chapel Hill and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Wuhan, yes, Wuhan. You know, where according to the official narrative, people suddenly dropped dead on the street when COVID-19 broke out because there was a bat mutated. The spike protein, the pathogenic payload of the bioweapon, is the result of this research. So it's not about a natural spike protein, but an illegally developed, synthetically made pathogen that has been optimized for human infection. The spike protein mRNA, with the instructions to human cells to produce this very pathogenic spike protein, is one of the two crucial building blocks of the COVID-19 bioweapon. Now, the delivery system, the NLPs, you know, the nanolipid particles that encapsulate the mRNA payload and deliver it into the interior of the cells. The propaganda term for this is fat globules, as if we're talking about something as harmless as a stick of butter. What did Boyle declare about it? Boyle declared that it is actually about a nanotechnology-enhanced delivery platform. This technology is, as Boyle declared, paid for, developed, financed, and conceived by the Pentagon and its research institute, DARPA. This technology platform, nanotechnology platform, was not an afterthought. Dr. Boyle points out that the virus itself was aerosolized and engineered with nanotechnology from the very beginning. This indicates a long-term program aimed at the application of advanced delivery systems, and this technology has been used in the COVID-19 injections. Boyle determined that the NLP delivery system in the injections is the result of a specific teacher-sponsored program for nanotechnological biological weapons. In the presentation by Sanson, you can read further about the legal implications of this. It is also argued that Gates and Borla qualify as suspects of crimes against humanity as defined in the Rome Statute concerning the International Criminal Court.
Let's look at the photo. You say that's me? Okay, check out the name badge. It says Aldrin. Looks like you're right. But notice the helmet. Can you see my face? No. This is a secret I've been keeping for almost half a century. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and I pulled off humanity's first extraterrestrial prank.
What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest? It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And if it didn't happen, it's nice to know why it didn't happen, so in the future, if we want to keep doing something, we need to know why something stopped in the past that we wanted to keep it going. Money is a good thing. If you want to buy new things, new rockets, instead of keep doing the same thing over, then it's going to cost more money. And other things need more money too. So having achieved what the president wanted us to do, and then what thousands, millions of people in America, and millions of people around the world. You know, when we toured around the world after we came back, the most fascinating observation was signs that said, we did it. Not just us, not just America, but we, the world, different countries. They felt like they were part of what we were able to do. And that made us feel very good.
Antiparasitic drug that reverses autism. Why wouldn't they want you to know about it?
This might be one of the biggest medical cover-ups you've never heard of. Sermon is a drug originally derived from compounds found in white pine needles. It's been used for over 100 years to treat African sleeping sickness due to its powerful antiparasitic properties. It works so well that the World Health Organization supplies it for free in parts of Africa. But here in the US, it isn't approved by the FDA, and the only way to get it is through the CDC under strict medical supervision, essentially making it off limits to the public. Now, here's where it gets wild. In 2017, Dr. Robert Naveau out of UC San Diego gave a single low dose of Sermon to 5 boys with autism. Within hours to days, their language improved, social interaction increased, eye contact returned, and playfulness and awareness came back. One child who had never spoke said his first full sentence. These kids experienced a complete metabolic reset. However, Sermon can't be patented. No one owns it, no one profits from it, and therefore the study didn't receive any funding. Dr. Naveau even went $500,000 in debt to run the study himself. And the results, well, they were essentially buried. If you search for it, you'll find fact checks and misinformation because this is so much bigger than potentially curing autism. If Sermon works, it supports a massive shift in everything we've been led to believe. It would validate something called cell danger response, a theory that autism isn't purely genetic, but rather metabolic shutdown triggered by toxins, infections, or chronic stress. If this were true, it would shatter the current medical narrative and expose a multi-billion-dollar industry on symptom management.
And maybe that's why like Hitler's speech. They've got Hitler's speeches that Hitler gave in German. And you get to see it in English, and you're like, oh.
The German nation does not wish its interests to be determined and controlled by any foreign nation. France to the French, England to the English, America to the Americans, and Germany to the Germans. We are resolved to prevent the settlement in our country of a strange people which was capable of snatching for itself all the leading positions in the land, and to oust it, for it is our will to educate our own nation for these leading positions. We have hundreds of thousands of very intelligent children of peasants and of the working classes. We shall have them educated. In fact, we have already begun, and we wish that one day they, and not the representatives of an alien race, may hold the leading positions in the state together with our educated classes. Above all, German culture, as its name alone shows, is German and not Jewish. and therefore its management and care will be entrusted to members of our own nation.
When you see those things, those speeches, I thought it was all like, we got to exterminate the Jews. That's not what
found that are more, you could say, elegant from a medical point of view and more helpful will support normal mitochondrial function in a normal cell and harm abnormal mitochondrial function in a cancer cell. Well, it turns out, we didn't realize this for a long time, but it turns out that one of those agents is methylene blue. And so methylene blue has an ability to be a mitochondrial cancer agent where it's going to help your normal tissue stay normal, and it's going to help your cancerous tissue be weakened so that other therapies.
John Lockland, I'm the director of FBD International. I'm speaking to you from the Palais de Tokyo in Paris. Behind me you can see an exhibition space. I'm not allowed to film in there. I started to film and the guards told me I had to stop. The reason is that there's a painting in there which shows two children with their hands tied behind their backs being forced to perform oral sex on a grown man. It's an example of the banalization of paedophilia. The French judicial authorities have recently said that this painting should stay, even though an appeal was made against the museum by an organization defending the rights of children. In the name of free expression, therefore, something is now hanging in the public space in Paris which is designed to banalize the worst forms of sadistic paedophile pornography. FVD demands that this stop, both in the Netherlands,
the entire last year of investigations right now. So BlackRock controls everything, right? Wrong, but we'll start there. Because if you go to the grocery store and try to buy something like shampoo or deodorant or baby food, turns out that basically every option is owned by mega corporations that are all owned by the same people. Top shareholders of all of these corporations are Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, the big three. Doesn't matter how many different companies you look at in all of the different parts of our lives, top shareholders of every single one of these little stock sheets is Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. And sure, they're managing our money, like your retirement account, but what they're doing is they control the voting power on all those shares. I don't know if you can read this, but like index funds, mutual funds, exchange traded funds, all the things that Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street use to get your money in their pockets, which is still yours, clearly. They control the voting rights. And so what that means is when you look at the board of directors of all these different companies, of every company in the market, their boards of directors were selected by the same three biggest shareholders, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. That board of directors determines who runs the company, determines how the company operates, determines whether to put poison in the food or food in the food, determines whether to tell you that there's asbestos in the baby powder or to cover it up for 30 years. And so all the different mega corporations that make all the things we use in our daily lives are all owned by the same big three financial institutions, along with their buddies, the big banks. But then when you look at all the big banks and financial institutions, you know who owns them? Each other. They all own each other. And what that means is there is a ruling class of bankers, of old banking families, of big money that collectively owns the financial institution blob. And they're controlling all of the mega corporations through the boards of directors who select the CEOs, et cetera, down the line. And those bankers and corporations have developed some pretty wild tricks in order to shuffle their money around, exert this control, buy off the government. In case you hadn't realized yet, I'm in Idaho right now and I'm speed running a talk that I'm about to give tonight and tomorrow night at the Old State Saloon. We are about to break it all down for like 4 total hours plus some Q&A at the Old State Saloon in Eagle, Idaho. More on that at the end. So these bankers, these rich people, their families, a lot of that money is deeply tied into the black market systems of arms trades, drug trafficking, other kinds of trafficking. They launder all that money through things like art sales. The music industry is a big one that people don't talk about. Hollywood is full of money laundering because everybody needs a bank, including the criminal. So all that we're going to cover tonight in a 2-hour-long live talk. It's going to be streaming on the internet through Old State Saloon's social media. That's essentially a speed run of my first 6 months of investigations into this whole thing. And we're going to go pretty deep. I am stoked. But tomorrow night, we're going to go deep on what the intelligence world is all about. What are spies, really? See, they told you that these are spies, but actually, these are more like what spies really look like. Because when you look at the history of who founded all this stuff, the kinds of people they were aligned with, the things they were doing, the types of backgrounds they had, the actions they took once they'd established these intelligence agencies, You realize that because the point of intelligence agencies is plausible deniability, most of the assets that intelligence agencies are working with are not actually card-carrying members of those intelligence agencies. And when you start to break down some known intelligence networks of the modern day, you start to realize just how powerful it is when you're leveraging outside assets like businessmen, like private citizens, private companies, because it hides what's really going on. See, we already had a military that was super strong. We didn't need a spy agency if all we wanted to do was exert force around the world. But when you want to do covert operations, secret programs that don't trace back to whichever government is behind them, you want private citizens that run their own businesses doing that work for you. You want people that can walk in the gray areas in various industries. People with a lot of power and money and influence, but who also can be controlled, either through loyalty or through blackmail or through whatever. So yeah, you can see why I'm so hyped. We're going to break everything down. There will be no filter. We're not on YouTube. We're being hosted by the most based saloon you could possibly find. And we're going to do it all from an evidence-based, like intelligent, discerning point of view. Not just like wild conspiracy theories with nothing to back it up, but like complex thinking about like, what do we see happening in the world? What do we know about history? What does that imply about what's going on today? And what does that mean going forwards? Like, how do we fix this problem? If you're in the Boise, Idaho area, come hang out. We still got some tickets for tonight and for tomorrow night. It's going to be sweet. Would love to meet you all. And if you're not in the Boise, Idaho area, it's going to be live streaming on just about every platform through Old State Saloon's social medias. And if you're on TikTok, I think I'm going to try to stream it through my TikTok account somehow. Fingers crossed. But yeah, you heard Cat Williams. 2024 is the year that all lies will be exposed.
Typical tea bag is sprayed with plastic on the outside to keep it together and doesn't rip. And that plastic comes off the tea bag as microplastics. Average cup of hot tea brewed, even with a regular tea bag that has plastic sprayed on it, sheds 1 billion microplastic particles into your cup of tea. Microplastics in a cup of tea are invisible. So here you are thinking you're drinking something good, but actually you're also taking in these microplastics, which we used to think may not be doing that much harm, but now we're beginning to think cause inflammation. So recent studies have shown that in people with narrowed arteries, including arteries feeding your brain, your carotid arteries, blockages, when the doctors have pulled out the lining, the thickened areas, they've actually found microplastics embedded into the narrowing, and it's correlated with a 4-fold increase of fatal heart attack and stroke. More recent research has shown microplastics in the testicles, in semen, and just last week, a new paper came out showing they found microplastics embedded in the flesh of the penis as well. So, whole tea leaves in a ball, fine. Tea leaves in a bag, I would stay away from that.
Have you seen the clips from the Olympic opening ceremony? It was a satanic ritual, and I don't say that lightly. By now, most of you have seen the clips. I won't show them again. I don't want to force anyone to unwillingly participate. But I will describe some of the imagery displayed for the world to see, for children to participate in. There was a trans drag queen reenactment of the Lord's Supper, the golden calf on the stage, the lone rider on the pale horse straight out of Revelations, skulls, symbols of death, satanic red lighting, children trapped in tunnels. Even Snoop came to play along, wearing Baphomet around his neck. It was the ultimate highlight of degeneracy, and they don't hide it any longer. They are proud of it, and we, as citizens of the world, are forced to watch it. It's the Olympics. Think about our athletes. We need to support them. They play that card over and over again, don't they? Use an emotional card to protect themselves from backlash and cancellation. There are Olympic athletes that are 13, 14, 15 years old, even younger, and they are being subject to pure evil. And people are outraged, understandably, but what are you going to do about it? And every time we see an opportunity for social boycott against debauchery, we eventually give in. It's so weak. The woke mind virus hijacked America's most popular beer, Bud Light, and we were mad for a few months, but we got over it. Target was selling tuck-friendly children's bathing suits, but we've somehow forgiven them. Disney is doing trans parades at their parks and DEI shows and movies, still busy. Luxury brand Balenciaga was using child bondage marketing, but they're still in all the malls. Even Epstein and all his associates are still on the loose, as is Diddy and his crew. We see a problem, clearly. Yell about it, post about it, maybe be upset for a couple of days or weeks, or maybe even a month. But then we see something else shiny, and it's on to something else. The Olympics, which our future generations throughout the globe watch, train for, and aspire to be a part of. It's become clear devil worship. When is enough enough?
The problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course, High taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. Not even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed. And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Well, so if the government can print unlimited amounts of money out of thin air, why do they collect taxes? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar would fall, and the Western civilization with it. If the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst. There's still time. You don't have to make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. You can still jump before the water boils. Winning the election isn't enough to solve these problems. They will not simply go away as a consequence of an electoral result. It will take a total re-engineering of the government top to bottom. It will entail making difficult decisions. It will be hard. The system will push back, but you have the right to determine your own.
The turn of the century that the human body is almost 80%, 90% water, and it's also got electrolytes in it, which we know to be salt, potassium, different minerals. That means we're a salt battery. No different than the car battery, different than something like that. And there's a patent actually called the Cali patent, which I'll hold up here for the camera to see. And this patent actually was developed in 1897, and not much has been done with it because at that time everyone was afraid of electricity. In this case, Dr. Clark developed a product using a 9-volt battery. And I'll just show you in the back here. There it is, 9-volt battery. And this particular unit, you just snap on your wrist with 2 wristbands.
We only have a minute. Yeah.
You snap it on your wrist just to prove that I'm a circuit. I push the little green light, and the thing is on. And if I put my hands together, you can hear that I'm a circuit, and I'm a closed circuit at this point. Now with
Why
that,
do we get a sound when you put your hands together?
because I've closed the circuit. Now when I take my hands apart, obviously the electricity is now being able to flow through the body. The electricity can't go through the digestive tract, so in the digestive tract, to kill the microorganisms, the specific parasites, she's found the effectiveness of the black walnut, which the native Indians used for cleansing many years ago. The black walnut, in its green hull form, kills many of the microorganisms. And in conjunction with another product called wormwood, and cloves, typical cloves that you would get at the store, these 3 in combination have the ability to go in and kill all the pathogens. Now, what's most interesting is the Mexican people have the lowest incidence of cancer anywhere on the planet. And the reason is they kill the ascaris with this particular product here, we all know to be the jalapeno pepper. And those seeds of the jalapeno pepper, only 10 or 15 seeds twice a day, have the ability to kill the ascaris, which she found to be a major cause of why the body loses oxygen at the tumor sites. And to kill that, you use the jalapeno seeds, and then you back that up with a little ozonated olive oil.
How are you so certain that each time you have...
We use scanning techniques and we do blood tests. You can tell if a tumor has shrunk or not. But I realized this kind of criticism would come along, and that's why I saved 50 sets of x-rays before and after and all the blood tests, and that's what I published in the last book.
Now, this is where you really...
Hello. My name is Montague William III. And what I will tell you may well sound absurd, but the less who believe it, the better for me. For many a year we have controlled your lives, while you all just struggle and suffer in strife. We control the money that controls your lives, whilst you worship false idols and wouldn't think twice about selling your souls for a place in the sun. These things that won't matter when your time is done. But the smile on my face, well, it makes me exempt. For I have the weapon of global TV, which gives us connection and invites empathy. You would really believe that we look out for you, while we bankers and brokers are only a few. But if you saw that, you'd take back the power. Hence, daily terrors to make you all cower. The panics, the crashes, the wars, and the illness that keep you from finding your spiritual wholeness. We rig the game, and we buy out both sides to keep you enslaved in your pitiful lives. So, go out and work as your body clock fades. And when it's all over, a few years from the grave, you'll look back on all this, and just then you'll see that your life was nothing, a mere fantasy. For real power resides in the hands of a few. You voted for parties. What more could you do? But what you don't know is they're one and the same. Old Gordon has passed good old David the reins, and you'll follow the leader who was put there by you. But you simply don't see it's all part of the game. Another distraction, like money and fame. Get ready for wars in the name of the free, vaccinations for illness that will never be, the assault on your children's impressionable minds, and a microchipped world. You'll put up no fight. Information suppression will keep you in tone. Depopulation of peasants was always our goal. Oh yeah, it was us that funded Nazis. But as long as we own all the media too, what's really happening does not concern you. So just go on watching your plasma TV, and the world will be run by the ones you can't.
Currently, a climate emergency.
Well, there is an emergency. It's an emergency of common sense. And the other emergency we have is there's not enough carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It has been decreasing over geological time from 0.7%, which is 500 million years ago, to the current 0.04%. If we halved it, all plant life would die. And we should be thinking very seriously about the long-term future of the planet and feeding plants with plant food with carbon dioxide. So we have a huge crisis in the education system, which has been dumbed down for the last 60 years. As a result of that, we have people having eco-anxiety and thinking there's a climate crisis. It's actually a crisis of education.
You've got, I think it was the UN, not so long back, last week, declared that with the era of global warming is over and the era of global boiling is upon us. You would say there is no global boiling at this particular time in history?
I would say these people are ideologues who don't know history, who are trying to frighten us witless so we can open our wallet. This has got nothing to do with science. It's got nothing to do with environment. It's got nothing to do with climate. It's to do with control and power by unelected people over it.
Is there the rise of Islamophobia in the UK?
I think that it's exactly what I've been talking about for 2 years now, which is the destabilization project of Europe, which, whether they like it or not, includes the UK. That you will see increasing civil strife, you will see increasing civil unrest, you will see increasing division, violent hatred, factions against factions, militants against militants, and the militants aren't going to be our kind of militants anymore. There's going to be white nationalists. There's going to be all different types. There's going to be from the right wing, there's going to be from the left wing, there's going to be communists, there's going to be anarchists, there's going to be everything. That's environmentalists, all of these things. It's going to get bad, everyone. And I've been telling you that. So I don't know why you would ask me. I've been telling you, this is how it's going to get. And it's happening. And it's not a matter, it's not, and I'm not necessarily saying, although Tommy Robinson, he's an instigator anyway. He's just a cheap instigator. I don't know if he works for somebody or not, but when you have created, okay, first of all, you have already the the main source of the stress, the main reason why all of these societies are powder kegs is economics. Obviously, the kufr, which is why they can't deal with the economic situation. But politically, socially, the problem is the economic situation. So the people who have created the problem for you also create the narrative and the means of delivering narratives that tell you that the one to blame is always somebody else. It's always not them. It's never the one who's creating the narrative is never the one to blame. And they can control the narrative and they control the propagation of the propaganda to make sure that you think that your problem is caused by this guy or that guy, or this brown one or that Arab one or that immigrant or that woman or that man or what have you, that leftist, that environmentalist, that right-winger. As long as you're never looking at them, the one who's telling you who your enemy is most of the time your enemy.
Mr. Brando, why did you refuse the Academy Award last year?
I refused it because of the increasing control of Zionists in Hollywood. They own the studios, they shape the stories, they decide who gets heard and who doesn't. I saw it clearly.
Before the 1900s, people would only drink from copper, and the illness rate was so low. There was no such thing as the winter flu because people never got sick, because their immune systems were so strong. This is because they were drinking out of copper from the pipes in their house, also from copper bottles, but they even had gutters that were made from copper. So when it rained, they would collect the water in the gutters, and the copper would naturally purify the water, and no bacteria would be able to survive. However, it was not only purifying the water, it was adding copper minerals into the water as well, electrolyzing the water. And because everyone was drinking from copper water, the runoff would go to their plants, which is what caused them to notice the plant growth. Because when they watered their plants with copper, their plants would grow up to 10 times as big. And then during the war, copper was outcasted and then deemed to be unsafe.
The rule of thumb
but is this really
that I believe everybody should adopt is that if any problem is being presented as a global crisis, then it is a scam. The pattern that we are confronted with is really the fabrication of global crises. The presentation either of non-existent problems or small local problems as being general global crises, followed by the assertion that the only solutions that are permissible are global ones that require a global authority, global control. The COVID policy response was one of those. Look at what happened to countries like Sweden or Tanzania, who tried to push back against the orthodoxy, the new orthodoxy. The climate crisis, the climate change crisis, is another example where we are told that the biggest threat to the world is this molecule, CO2, and that an increase in the level of this molecule will cause an increase in temperature, and that temperature increase will be bad for us, and that the only thing we can do is consume fewer fossil fuels and less energy. That's fitting the pattern exactly. The other things you can observe is, instead of presenting science as an ongoing, evolving activity, it is presented in terms of static knowledge, consensus. You see the cancellation and censorship of dissident voices rather than engagement with them. These patterns are proof of a scam. That is what people need to understand. Whenever something is presented as the science, as a consensus, it is a scam.